biggest threat that wildlife faces in the United States and throughout the world, and that is human activities. Well, I was at a conference at the Denver Zoo, and we were talking about prairie dogs and prairie ecosystems, and someone mentioned, there's a few farmers, enlightened farmers and ranchers, who have figured out that they can make as much money and probably more by learning to live with wildlife instead of eradicating it. And so I listened as they told the story about Larry Haverfield. I ran home, got on the internet as quick as I could, and sure enough, there were all of these stories from places like the New York Times, the Washington Post, all of these major news publications talking about how this one guy in Kansas decided to fight against what he saw was an injustice, and that was the county commissioners being able to go out wherever they wanted and not only poison the wildlife on the land, but send the landowner the bill for doing it. And he said, this doesn't make sense. We're supposed to be all about landowners' rights here and so on. And so he began to fight against what he perceived as an injustice, and he ended up winning the battle. The natural curiosity for kids when it comes to animals, and when it comes to animals who need someone's help. So that's part of the inspiration for the project for this book, obviously, is to help kids to become better readers and to help them learn a little bit about wildlife and some of the dangers that wildlife is facing in our country. I was inspired too because I heard shortly thereafter that Larry had been diagnosed with cancer and wasn't doing good. Around that same time, I was diagnosed with cancer as well. And I think most people will tell you who had that, those words spoken to them, you have cancer, you just kind of step back and look at how you're living your life and what's important and what isn't important. Now this is the time to step up and do something, not only for the wildlife but for kids. And so I kind of rearranged my priorities. I put my family first, my faith right there with it, and then after that I said, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And wildlife conservation to me is the most important thing in the world after my family and faith. And so I've decided that I want to go out and work in some capacity in this area. And this, my kids and I had the great fortune of being able to go to Kansas and spend a day with Larry Haverfield out on his land. We've met his family. We looked at the beautiful job that he's done in conserving them. And again, when I found out that he had passed away, I said, I want to do this book in tribute to him.